Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast, the show for women who are seeking more fulfillment in life and simply not getting it from their current situation. We focus specifically on careers, but hey, we spend a lot of time in our careers, so making changes here will definitely create an impact in your overall happiness. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and my mission is to empower women to succeed. I believe that in order to powerfully own your career, you must decide and claim that you want to sit in the driver's seat. You must know that you deserve better and be willing to not only do the requisite work, but be willing to go out on a limb to ensure your success. Each episode focuses on profiling a leader who is clearly demonstrating ownership of their career. Join me and my guests as we explore career journeys and bring you actionable strategies to use to get into the driver's seat for your career. Because ultimately, your career is your responsibility. Let's get into the show. In today's episode of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast, I am pleased to be joined by Shannon Daniels, founder and CEO of encaptiv. Shannon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be on.
I'm excited to have you on as well. I've been following your successes on LinkedIn and heard so many wonderful things about you. Can you tell us just a little bit about your career journey? And by the way, you can throw a little bit in about encaptiv as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been quite a windy path to get where I am. Right out of college, I started in sales and marketing, which is where I thought I was going to spend my whole career, and kind of have ended up still in a sales and marketing realm. But I got my undergrad degree at the University of Central Florida, then went back and got a master's in interpersonal communication. And through all that, I was working in sales and marketing. I started as a creative writer and then became a communication manager for a project that was going on, a merger that the company I was working for was doing, and got moved into the project management office. So spent 3 years as a corporate project manager doing new product development and rollout and new technology projects, and as well as regulatory things. It was an insurance company. So in my early 20s, I was learning more about Medicare and senior life and health insurance than any 20-something should know. But I learned a whole lot. And then I moved back into the marketing and sales arena and ran several different marketing and sales departments, not only with that organization, but also other organizations throughout my career. And as I was moving through my career, I was climbing that ladder, moving up, getting bigger paychecks, making those strong 6 figures, and being successful in terms of how we do it in America, right? And I just started to feel like something was missing, that I wasn't happy. The higher I went, the more money I was making, the less satisfied I was. And I just felt like I wasn't really in control of my career. My career was in control of me. And so I started kind of a side business doing health and life coaching, because I went and got a certification in that, and ultimately said, this is what I want to be doing. I need a break. I'm burnout. I'm going to quit my job. Meanwhile, I'm planning my wedding, which is an expensive venture. And so I quit my job and started doing coaching full time instead of just part-time on the side. Learned about a year into doing that full time that was not the right career move for me. As much as I love health and wellness, and I really love helping and working with my clients, it just getting text messages and phone calls at all hours of the night saying, can I eat this? Can I do that? Am I supposed to be having this? Was just not, it was too much for me. So I gradually got pulled back into the communication space, which is where my passion is. It's where my background is, my expertise and my education, and started working with other entrepreneurs and small business owners on communication related things, public speaking. I was also teaching public speaking and communication at the college level. I taught at Iona College and at Columbia University, and just kind of took all of the things that I learned over the years in my decade-plus corporate career, as well as my experience as an entrepreneur and my knowledge of communication, and really use this to apply to small businesses and entrepreneurs and help them pitch their products and services, get their messaging right, all that kind of stuff, and reignited my spark and my love for all of this and for communication. And through all of that, I just started, it gave me this unique perspective into problems with presentations and presentation software and public speaking when it relates to business, especially when you're trying to use public speaking to build your business. And that gave me unique insight into solving a problem that's been out there with public speaking software, presentation software. So I sat down one day and I said, if I had to draw out my dream software, what would it look like? I put it down on a piece of paper, started showing it around to people, and they were like, when can I sign up? This is amazing. How can I use this? I'm like, no, it's just a drawing on a piece of paper. Yeah, but when are you going to make it so I can sign up? And that's how encaptiv was born, and went on this long journey of market research. And now I still do my coaching on the side on more of a referral and as people come to me basis. I'm not actively building that business anymore. So I still do it. I really enjoy coaching people and working with people on their public speaking and communication. But I'm all in, fully focused, 100 hours plus a week on encaptiv right now.
Okay. Do you have children?
My child is encaptiv.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It cries at all hours of the night. It takes all of our money. It's very stressful.
When you said that, I'm a mom, and I heard 100 hours, I was like, whoa, that is a lot of time. Some of the things you said that, I can relate to: a marketing degree, project management. That's part of my background as well. I'm curious about stopping when you're climbing the ladder and you're doing well. What sort of talk did you have to have with yourself to be okay with stepping away from corporate and going on your own?
It was really scary. It was scary as all get out. I'm not going to lie. I was actually in the process of writing my book as well. So I was doing some of the health and life coaching on the side. I was applying what I had learned in getting my health coaching certification as well as my master's degree to do all that. And also applying that to a book that I was writing, which is called Water Yourself, a practical guide to weed out the bad, get more good, and live your dreams. It's all about mindset and accomplishing your goals and getting the bad things out of your life to make more room for the good and what you really want to do with your life. And as I'm trying to write the book, I'm struggling and struggling and struggling. And part of that was I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the energy. I felt like my job was sucking it all out of me. And as I'm writing the book, I said to myself, I need to be following my own advice. I'm telling people to go live their dreams and accomplish their goals and take the steps necessary, but I'm not even doing it myself. So I said, if I'm going to write this, I have to live it. And I will never forget, I actually mentioned it in the book, when I went into the CEO's office of the hospital that I was working with to tell him that I was leaving the hospital. He's like, oh, well, where are you moving on to? And I said, oh, I'm going to write a book. And he said, you're quitting your job to write a book? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, well, good luck. Let me know when it's out. I'll buy it. And as I'm walking away and walking down the hallway, I hear him come out and talk to his assistant and say, did Shannon tell you why she's leaving? She's writing a book. And I just thought that was the funniest thing, that people just couldn't believe that you would just take that leap like that. And it's not a way I was ever brought up. I was told, go to school, get a degree, get a solid job, have that insurance and that stability. And so it was going against everything I ever knew or had been taught in my life. But it's all
did it. Yeah, that's amazing and inspiring. I think a lot of people need to hear stories like this because, of the fear of the risk. And since we're talking about that, why don't we jump right to risk? Tell me about how risk has impacted your career. I mean, this was a big one.
Yeah. That was definitely the biggest risk I had taken at the time, right? I was leaving security and money and all that behind to start a business, and I had no idea how to start a business, but I was just jumping right in and going for it. And so risk has been really important to what I'm doing because I feel like you can't do really anything in life, whether it's jumping off the ledge and becoming an entrepreneur like I did, or even doing something as small as applying for your dream job or asking for a promotion or a raise. There's some level of risk in everything we do. And if we don't take those risks, we'll never reap the rewards of them. So risk has been absolutely instrumental in what I'm doing. And once I took that first leap and that first risk and learned, oh my gosh, I can do this, you start to build more of a confidence in yourself. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about taking control of your life, your own destiny, your career. And that was really a big turning point for me. And those risks have steadily gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over time, and the rewards have grown with them. So we're huge risk right now with encaptiv, all in, all of our savings, collecting friends and family money, now pulling in investor money. That's an even bigger risk. So
what keeps you going?
What keeps me going is believing in myself and knowing I can do this. It's not about, for me, being an entrepreneur is not about becoming a millionaire or a billionaire or anything like that. That would be wonderful. That's the ultimate goal, right? Is to make money and be successful. But it's about success being measured in a different way. It's about leaving an impact, bringing something to the world that is going to improve other people's lives, improve their way of doing business, improve their presentation and communication skills, and let them connect with each other. And so what really keeps me going is just, I can do this, is knowing that is being able to see that I can climb that mountain and make it to the top and stick that flag in the peak. And that's just rewarding for me.
Awesome. Love that. Tell me, what advice would you give to someone wanting to successfully own their career based on your learnings?
Yeah. Is not to leave fear in the past. Be fearless. And like I said, there's a lot of ways that fear plays a role in us. It's fear of rejection, fear of a no, fear of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. You can learn a lot from failure. So be fearless. That's one thing. Also, to have a good sense of yourself and your purpose. When you know yourself, you can start to understand who you are, what you want from life, and that really helps you harness and take control of the next steps in your career and take control of your career. And purpose. Purpose is so important when it comes to that, because if you're not fulfilling a purpose, it doesn't lead to that level of satisfaction or fulfillment or happiness that you want to attain in life. And we're getting into Maslow's hierarchy of needs now, right? And most people don't get into that tip of the iceberg, though, with the self-actualization. We focus on our basic needs, and we let that control us, and that fear of not having our basic needs met keeps us from getting to those higher peaks of self-actualization and fulfillment and ultimate happiness. So understand your purpose in life, what drives you, what makes you happy, what fulfills you, and who you are and why you do what you do. Take away that fear that's associated with it. I'm not telling you just to throw everything away and quit your job and say, screw it. You do have to take precautions. You got to pay the bills, roof over the head, food on the table type of stuff, and meet those basic needs. But believe in yourself that you can do it ultimately. And when you believe in yourself that you can do it, and you don't let the fear hold you back, and you start taking steps towards fulfilling your purpose and being who you are and what you want to be, it'll take you a long way, not only in your career, but in your life in general.
So Shannon, can you give us some tips on how to kick fear to the side? What's worked for you?
What has worked for me? That's a really good question. So kicking fear to the side is first of all, is taking the first step, right? So it helps a lot of people, that first step, to have kind of a backup plan in place, right? So if I'm going to quit my job, or I'm going to ask for a raise, or I'm going to apply for my dream job, or whatever it may be, that ask that person out that you're just dying to date, right? Whatever it might be that you're fearful of, there's a couple ways you can handle it. One is with the big steps, like quitting your job, have some kind of backup plan. Like, have a secondary source of income, or have a savings and safety net, and know how long that will last you and how long you can go before you need to say, okay, I need to go back to reality and find a job while I'm trying to figure out next steps. Weigh those risks and rewards with the smaller things, right? If the only risk that you have that's holding you back from fear is a no, or is potential embarrassment or something like that, really look in the mirror and say, what is it that's keeping me from this? What could that no possibly do to me? Yeah, it's a hit to my ego for a few minutes or an hour or a couple of days. But at the end of the day, I can get myself up, dust myself off, and go again. And look at every no as just one more step on the journey to yes, right? So just understand the risks, the rewards, and if you need to have a contingency plan for it.
Awesome. Awesome. When did you know that you were in the driver's seat for your career?
Really, before I was ever successful at being an entrepreneur, and I still think I have a long way to go to even say that I am. Yes, encaptiv's getting a lot of notoriety. We're winning awards, all that stuff, and we're still very early stage, but there's a long road ahead. I'm under no illusions there. But I think even before all that, the day that I actually quit the corporate life and took the step toward being an entrepreneur, this weight lifted. Even though I wasn't quite sure what I was doing and how I was going to do it, I was figuring it out as I go. That's when I really knew that this is on me. I control this. I own this because I'm making decisions for me now to fulfill my purpose, not to fulfill this American dream or this way of living or this way of life where you got to get a job and make more money and have the 2.5 kids. Everybody has their own path in life. And so it's figuring out yours. And when I did that, I knew I was on my right path.
Wonderful. Can you think about a time that perhaps you avoided responsibility for your career?
Really, when I was in corporate, I would say. It was a funny story is before I ever went to college, I was a dancer from the time I was 6 years old on. And I competitively danced and all of that. And I wanted to go to school to dance. And like most good parents do, you're not going to school for dance. You can continue to do dance and you can take dance classes and you can join the dance team, but you're going to go to college to get a degree in something that's going to give you a career and some stability. So good on them. But at that point in time, I think that was the first step towards losing control over what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And I just got so wrapped up in this, having a good job and making a good steady income and having insurance and providing, that there were things flying at me from all angles. And I let the responsibility go and just let it be controlled by external factors, not by what I really wanted, but by what I was told I should be doing.
And how were you able to turn that around?
I think just over time, I realized more and more and more. The first step to turning that around is I had a job where I was making about $250,000 a year in maybe I was just barely 30. And that's a lot of money for someone that age. And I was incredibly unhappy. I didn't like the work that I was doing. I didn't like the company I was working with. And I finally said, it's not about the amount of money I'm making or the title that I had. And I actually took a demotion both in title and in pay to go do something that would make me happier. And that was my first step towards taking back control of that.
Wonderful. Thank you for being so authentic in your sharing. It's very inspiring and insightful.
Absolutely. I feel like you don't help anybody by holding things in, and we learn from each other's stories and from each other's experiences. So, you just have to share and be truthful.
Totally agree. What tools would you say, online or otherwise, have helped you in terms of owning your career?
Honestly, right now, I live and die by my Google Calendar. As crazy as that sounds, I'm working around the clock. And yesterday morning, for example, I was up at 5:45 a.m. to the gym and then at my first meeting by 8 a.m. And then I was working until I think I finally put my computer down at 11:15 p.m. And so it's long days and it's a lot of times it's a lot of meetings and deadlines and things. So my calendar with the reminders keeps me on track. That is one thing that's been really crucial to me. I also love email and text messages because someone who's really crunched for time, quick communication that's traceable, and if I forget something, can go back and remind myself, is amazing. And then since starting Encaptiv, I got introduced to Slack. And I think Slack is a great tool for group and team communications and sharing information, and Google Drive as well. A lot of the Google products have been really great and really crucial for me. And then, of course, Encaptiv. I designed it for presenting, and it really helps me with going out and presenting and getting the analytics that I need and engaging with my audience and converting them.
So tell us a little, since we got back to Encaptiv, tell us how it would work with for a presenter.
It's actually pretty simple. So we didn't want to take away what people already know and use on a daily basis. It's hard to disrupt habits. We just wanted to improve upon it. So basically, you can take your PowerPoint or your Keynote or whatever you built your presentation slides in, you save them as images, and you upload that right into Encaptiv. It takes less than 5 minutes to set up an account and get your first presentation created. Then within there, you can add live polling. So you can add poll questions that you want your audience members to respond to during the presentation. And you can also add calls to action or conversions. So right now in our beta product, we have join my newsletter, we have follow me on my social media, and we also have a feedback survey. And you can launch these and send them right out to audience member devices while they're still in the room with you. And so what happens, you create your presentation, you set up any polls you want, any calls to action, and then you go the day of your presentation, just like any other, and you can either use a projector or skip the projector altogether, because what you're doing is giving your audience members a special code to join your presentation from their device. There's no app to download. It's just go to encaptiv.com, enter this code, join my presentation, and then they can see all your slides and interact with you in real time from their devices. And then after the presentation's over, they have access to your slides, to their notes, their questions. They can contact you through the platform. We'll be adding some CRM and email marketing features to that as well to make it even more automated and simple. And then as the presentation's going on, Encaptiv's calculating an engagement score for each audience member based on different factors. And when you're ready to launch your calls to action, instead of having to pick one for all of the audience members, you can have the system send out different calls to action to each audience member based on their engagement. So if someone's not very engaged in your presentation, it might send them a feedback survey to say, what can I be doing better? Whereas if someone's doing really, really engaged with your presentation, we'll be adding the ability to buy something from an e-store, or right now, send them an offer to sign up for your email newsletter or follow you on social. And so it really targets those offers sent to their devices, and they can do that before they ever leave the room, so you're not chasing them down. And then as the presenter, you have a dashboard with all kinds of audience analytics and information to tell you who was engaged, what content they were engaged with, so you can really improve your presentations and focus your follow-up going forward.
Wonderful. No wonder you're doing so well. You have converted me in that 1 minute. As a speaker, I'm going to use it. And
all right.
See what I think. So thank you so much. Tell our listeners how they can reach you if they have questions or want to stay connected after this interview.
Yeah, well, of course, they can follow myself on social media, or they can follow Encaptiv on social. We're very active with Encaptiv. All of the social handles are at Encaptiv, ENCAPTIV. Really easily. You can visit us at encaptiv.com as well. And then myself, I'm on LinkedIn as Shannon Malik Daniels. I'm on Facebook as Shannon Malik Daniels. Instagram is Super Maliki, Super Maliki. And on Twitter as at Shannon Malkin, Malkin. And you can email me, shannon@encaptiv.com.
Absolutely. And I'll go ahead and put this in the show notes for this episode. Shannon, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. I learned so much. I was inspired by your story. Are there any parting words before we end the episode?
Just the only thing I would tell people is don't let fear control you. Don't let it dictate what your potential is and your career path. Just believe in yourself, know who you are and what you can do, and take those first steps forward.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and we really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It is my hope that you enjoyed today's episode. You can check out the show notes for this episode on the SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org website by clicking the podcast menu. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and tell a friend or two about it.